Good evening, everybody. It's Steve, Hemp Works, on the time for hemp.com network, which is part of the iHeartRadio. Good evening, Casper. And good evening, Wendy Turner, one of my
Hi,
favourite
Steve.
can of mums. And she stepped in at the last minute for poor Sierra, who was due to come on, and something's gone wrong with Sierra's electricity. So let's all send her electricity, love, and make it all come back on for her. Wendy, it's been about a year since I last spoke to you. Obviously, I've been following on Facebook and every other Twitter and all the other things you're on. Really nice
Really?
to have you back on the show. Oh, yeah, man,
I
inspirational
can't
all the
believe it's
time.
been that long.
Yeah, I nearly
Wow.
it goes quick. And what a fantastic year we've had. Yeah.
Wow.
So
hmm
bring us up to speed. Who are you? What are you? And talk to us about your cannabis experience, please, Wendy.
Alrighty. Well, my name is Wendy Turner, and I am the proud mother of Mr. Colton Turner, who
Yeah,
is
man.
a 15-year-old now cannabis patient, and he suffers from Crohn's disease, and he has healed himself with cannabis and has been in remission for today is 20 months. Today is
Wow.
his 20-month anniversary.
Man, brilliant.
Woo.
Oh, Wendy, can I pick you up on something? You said he cured himself on cannabis. I think he had a little bit of help from other people because we
Yeah.
don't want to give the impression that he's a 15-year-old and run off and just done some
Oh,
crazy
yeah,
cannabis
yeah.
stuff.
Well, the funny thing is that, looking back on all of that stuff
Yeah,
when we were like at our last options and
yeah.
we're like, what are we gonna do? And Colton's actually the one that came up to us and said, what about cannabis? And we were
Wow.
like, because he'd been researching, they said holistic treatments. We were talking about going to an Indian reservation. We were talking about alternative medicines. So,
Yeah.
he was so frustrated by then that he looked it up himself and he came to us and said,
Fantastic.
"Hey, what about this?" And we were like, "Okay, let's try it. It's not going to hurt." So,
Wow. Oh man, that's the I mean, you know how much I love him and respect him anyway, but he's just gone up another level, hasn't he? He was the one that researched it to start with. But
yeah,
man, I can't imagine what it must have been like. You as his mum and dad sitting in a room and what are you, 13 and a half then?
yeah,
13?
13. hmm
And your 13-year-old son, bless him, comes in and says, Mum, go and have a look at cannabis. What was your thought? What went through your head?
Well, we were kind of thinking the same thing. We were all we were all like on the same wavelength at the same time.
Wow.
So when he said that, we were like, okay. Well, he had come down before that, and he looked at us and said, "I'm not taking Simzia. Find
Yeah.
another way," because
Yeah.
he had researched it, and he had researched that if he took Simzia, which is the next biological in the list of biologicals, that he would have had to be on, um, that if he had had Remicade, if he had Humira, and a couple of other little things prior to getting Simzia, then he had a 66% chance of developing T cell lymphoma.
Wow.
Well, he was like, forget that. No way. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do that. So he was the one that came up with a lot of this. He was frustrated. At even at 13 years old, he's a smart kid,
Yeah.
and he was just frustrated, like many people. That there's got to be something out there that's better than this westernized medicine. And granted, not all westernized medicines are bad.
No.
But this
No.
disease is quite difficult to deal with,
Yeah.
and he was just done. He was like, no, there's got to be an easier way. People before me have had Crohn's, and how do
Yeah.
they deal with it?
Yeah.
And if they're dealing with it bad, then we're finding another path. We're just
Yeah.
gonna find it, and he did. I mean, he's kind of an amazing little kid, so we're pretty
Isn't he
proud of him.
just? Yeah, well, so you should be. And of course, the main thing is he's here to tell the tale, as we say. Yeah.
Right, right.
Not only sort of like now, I know where he sort of started. Could you explain to the audience what he was like maybe just over 2 years ago? Yeah, and where he
Yeah.
is now. Yeah.
Well, he was dying. He was literally not going to make it. His disease is extremely aggressive, And before we came to Colorado, he had 22 centimeters of diseased bowel, and he was in a wheelchair. He was thin. He was 3 means below the standard in growth. He was in growth failure. He was in failure to thrive. His 9-year-old sister was taller than him. He was pale. He looked like a cancer patient with hair.
Yeah.
That's what he looked like. And that's probably what he felt like. I mean, thinking about it back, looking at him now and looking at the pictures of him 2 years ago, we were like, holy cow. It was bad. And, everywhere he went, we had to take a wheelchair. He couldn't go anywhere. He couldn't do anything. He sat in his room and played video games because that's all he could do. He sat in the bathroom for 8 hours a day. There was no quality of life at all. Bless. And the medicine was just making it worse. It wasn't making him any better. So, we were fed up. I wasn't going to watch my child die. He didn't want to die. My husband was like, forget this. We're going to fight, tooth and nail for this. And when we found out that cannabis could be one of those medicines that were clean and healthy, and there wasn't going to be any side effects, because the poor kid from Remicade ended up getting lupus. Yeah. And so, I mean, he deals with Crohn's disease, RA, which always comes with Crohn's. You get Crohn's disease, you have joint issues. And then he got drug-induced lupus from Remicade, which is a medicine that was supposed to treat his Crohn's, but yet gave him one of the side effects is lupus, and he got it. So we fight lupus also. And so the cannabis wasn't going to give him any side effects. It wasn't, he wasn't going to get cancer. No. He wasn't going to die of T-cell lymphoma. No. He wasn't going to get tuberculosis or histoplasmosis, which is all side effects to these biologicals. Absolutely. And now he was throwing snowballs at us today while we were trying to decorate for Christmas. He's up and down. He walks. We have a grocery store that we live on top of a hill because we live here in Colorado. Yeah. And we live on top of a small little hill. Yeah. And about 10 blocks down the hill is a grocery store. That kid walks up and down that hill at least once a day, going and getting him some candy.
And 20 months ago, he was in a wheelchair, possibly looking at the end of his life, a painful end life. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we just found out the other day that he was.
I remember when he was getting really, really good. I've got to bring this one up. You went hiking in the mountains somewhere. Do you remember that? It was like when he was sort of like getting better, or he was better. And there was this kid, because I remember that from when he was in a wheelchair. It was heartbreaking. And then I just remember seeing that photograph, on Facebook. And I was jumping around my front room. I was almost there with you. It was like, wow, man, the change in the little boy. Yeah. Or the young man, he was like, you could see him up that mountain, breathing air. And he's a young man. He almost like had life. You could see the life force in him.
It was totally different. Amazing. It was, he went from a little boy. I took a picture of Tommy and Colton when they left for Colorado, because I didn't get to see him for 6 months, just on and off. And I took a picture of them driving off. And to look at that picture now, I was like, holy smokes. He was just a little boy. Yeah. Just a small little boy. I mean, he looked like he was 9. And now the kid, I woke him up this morning, and his arms were like back behind his head. Yeah. And I looked at his biceps, and I'm like, dude, you're getting biceps.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's proper cellular regeneration. That's what the medical people now understand, that this stuff makes cellular regeneration. It regenerates you. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm living proof of that, and so is this young man. Yeah, can I just bring you off again, just for the rest of the audience, because I'm very familiar with the story. Because you say that you're living in Colorado, but really you don't live in Colorado, do you?
No.
Your family home is somewhere else. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, please, Wendy?
Sure. We are what they call Colorado medical refugees. We are actually from the state of Illinois, and which is about 13-hour drive in a car away from where we are now in Colorado. We lived there. We grew up there. My husband's family is from there. My family is from there. There's 5 or 6 generations of my family still living there. So I have 23 first cousins. I have tons of aunts and uncles, and that's our home. That's where we grew up, where we have our roots. But because of the state of Illinois, and that they do not approve of medical marijuana, at least they didn't back then. It has been approved since. We had to move to Colorado to get access to cannabis. What's sad is now they do have because we fought. A bunch of moms got together in Illinois and fought for cannabis rights, and they passed a bill that allows patients to use cannabis, and they just got the first sale like a couple of weeks ago. It wasn't that long ago. But because Colton is a Crohn's patient and doesn't have seizures, he is not covered under the qualifying conditions. So we would have to appeal, and appeals have to go through the House, then through the Senate, and then to the governor, and each one of them can take 6 months. So that's a year and a half of appeals. That's a year and a half where he has to be a resident of the state of Illinois. There's no way. We can't do that. And then not only that, you only get flour. So we would have to make his medicine. And right now, I've always said it. Jason Cranford is our caregiver here.
Yeah, and big shout out for Jason Cranford. Big shout out for Jason Cranford.
Big shout out for Jason. He's amazing. But I've always said, if Jason moves to Mars, then I'm moving to Mars with Colton. I will go wherever that man goes.
I fully understand why.
He's amazing. I mean, he's such. I always say he has a heart of gold, and it's true. He actually has a little tattoo on his chest that's a gold heart, which is crazy that I always say that. And then
from what I know of the man's work, he totally deserves it. From what I know of the man's work, he totally deserves that, because he's done some amazing stuff. I have to get him on the show one time. So anyway, look, getting back, so let's just go back to this political thing, if you don't mind, right? So just to get this clear, you lived in your family home, not only your family home, your ancestral home in America. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you got cousins, nieces, uncles. You planted everything, and you're up to uproot you and your son and move yourself how many thousands of kilometers down the road, just so that he can get access to some medicine, which is completely and obviously worked for him. Mm-hmm. But now you've only got to look at a picture of him and you can see that. Right, so you're about to uproot yourself, go to a completely different county or state, which is the state of Colorado, that do have the sense to allow people to use this plant to heal themselves or do what they need to be doing with it. And then the state where you come from, which I don't know how much tax your family have ever paid into it, but I would imagine it's quite a lot. I would imagine there's a few senators running around in your state because of your family keep working and paying taxes in.
Right.
They decided it is legal, but it can't be legal for this little boy because he needs a different format of it. Is that correct?
Yes,
well, shame
you're
on
absolutely
them.
Correct.
Total shame on them. Mm-hmm. Huh? And why is it like that'd be their children?
I don't get it. I totally don't understand any of it, because not only is it, they actually legalized whole plant in the state of Illinois, so which is a great situation, because we fought for that. We were like, listen, it can't just be CBD only. It has to be THC. Colton takes a 1-to-1, and he has to have that THC. and it's grown to that. I mean, he was on CBD in the beginning, but and it worked, but it didn't work as well as what the 1-to-1 does. You
Yeah.
have to have that THC. He has pain, so he
Yeah.
needs that. But
Yeah.
they were going to just pass CBD only, and it would have left him in Colorado again. But at least Illinois had enough foresight to say, okay, eventually we're going to have THC. Let's go ahead and do whole plant and pass whole plant legislation, and they did. There are other states in the United States, that haven't done that, and they only pass CBD laws, which is great. A lot of
Great,
senior
but
kids
ridiculous.
don't need it. And I totally understand that it helps some.
Yeah.
But you're still leaving a lot of kids out. And my son is one of them. Landon is one of them. Half of the seizure kids take THC or THCA. So you're leaving them out too. It's not a small step. It's the wrong step. You need, if we're going to do this, we need to unite, and we need to do it together, and we need to push whole plant. So, but then you have the state of Illinois, which has crazy laws that you can't have oil, and you can only buy bud, and there's no edibles, and blah blah blah. So what is Colton supposed to do? Smoke? If he had to, we would let him, but that's not the best ingestion method.
That's not the best method. Exactly. Yeah, so exactly. And you as a cannibal, and can I say that I don't. You're quite conservative people, yeah. You're not a bunch of stone dippies, right? I know your family, so you don't.
I have
mind
never smoked anything, Steve. I'm not kidding. I
know you're not. Right, so I've got to give a vision to the audience, right? This really isn't very. And as I say, I don't. In my country, we use the word conservative. It'd be okay. So I hope it's okay to say that. They're a regular, really nice, clean living, non-smoking, so it's point. How can they tell you can have this bit of a plant and not another part of the plant? But what I'm getting to, as a sensible family, if smoking it helped him, you would let him, would you? Saving his life.
Absolutely. Whatever it takes to save my son's life. I could care less.
As long as it's not these horrible chemical drugs that they keep giving us that don't work.
Exactly. If it had bad side effects, then I would say, okay, well, let's think about this. But here's the thing: side effects for cannabis: euphoria, appetite, maybe some energy sometimes. Or if you get the opposite strain, then you're going to be relaxed. You're going to sleep on the couch.
Yeah.
Okay. So the psychoactive part of it, some people can get a little psychoactive. But I would rather my child be a little crazy in the head than dead from.
Well, I tell you what, taking chemical drugs and living in a wheelchair and being in lots of pain drives you equally as crazy.
Oh, I believe. Well, we had a little bit of an incident a couple of months ago because, and we'll jump on this, and we may want to elaborate a little bit. We went back to the state of Illinois.
Yeah.
And to visit, we took 10 days, and we went to visit, and we were like, Colton can normally go a couple of days without medicine. So we pushed it hard, and we shouldn't have. We took him to the local pizzeria, which has the most amazing cheese, and he ate a whole pizza. Yeah. Big mistake. We were being very, very bad parents. Wound up that we came back to Colorado. 2 days later, he wound up in the hospital because of constipation.
I was going to ask you about that because I saw those and I never got. It kept going through me. Why is he back in hospital? I'm so glad you explained that.
So we didn't have medicine for 10 days for one, and for two, he ate like horribly. We were back home. We were relaxed. We weren't thinking. It was our fault. It was definitely our fault. So we get back to Colorado. He winds up in the hospital. He has a small little abscess, itty bitty, tiny thing. But trying to get him back into normal mode again with his cannabis it took us a month or two. So he's just now recovering. So he was on TPN because we wanted him to have bowel rest. We didn't want to put more meat and cheese and things like that in his stomach. So we put him on TPN. And so he had a PICC line for 3 weeks, and he was just on regular, he didn't eat any food. And it got better a little bit, but we had to fight it. He has Crohn's, and he will never not have Crohn's. And cannabis is great for curing cancer and helping with epilepsy, and it's great for Crohn's disease, but it's not going to cure it completely. It's going to cure all your symptoms, but you will always have Crohn's, and it's going to find a way to manifest itself somewhere. And it did. So, we know now not to do those things. And he's been so much better, after this, month and a half stint of back and forth to the hospital and hospital stays and TPN and blah, blah, blah. We realized that pizza's bad.
Yeah. Well, it's the wheat as well. Don't forget, it's not just the cheese; it's the wheat. It's all the processed tomato. It's loads of things going on there. Because I have the same problem. Wendy, I totally empathise with you because I have the same problem. Now, me being a lot older, the other weekend I'm living down in Spain. All I can say is I overdid it a little bit. Yeah, and I had some food that was absolutely beautiful, and I had a couple of glasses of wine, right, which I shouldn't really be drinking, even though my liver's perfect, and I had to pay back the same. For a few days, I had to go completely detox and raw juice because it affected me. Yeah,
it does.
But I sort of knew that. But so when we've got our problems, we have to move away from some of the food groups we used to enjoy and move on to new ones. And if we use those old food groups, I've certainly been through the same situation. Not as bad as that, but yeah.
Well, and everybody kind of goes through it, and you have to be careful. I mean, we are a diseased nation, or a diseased world. I mean, I'm very happy that I'm extremely healthy. But things happen, and we have to watch out for those things. So we have to, I always tell Colton, these are the cards that we were dealt.
Yeah. And you got to play them.
Yeah, we just have to play. And sometimes we had a bad hand this time, and we made a mistake in the game. Yeah. And we shouldn't have. We should have been more careful. But now we know.
We know. Yes, we live and learn. We're all learning. And again, I think by shows like this and talking amongst ourselves, some of the information that we're passing on is really, top quality information. And some of that is not what the scientists look into, if you know what I mean.
No.
Yeah? They look into the top end of it. But this day-to-day living, and also about the medication, because I've been moving around a little bit, sometimes I've actually changed medication, different stocks, using it differently. And it's been quite difficult, yeah?
It is.
You get used to one, you find your medicine, you start taking it, and then you have to move somewhere else, and you have to use another one. And it takes a little bit of time.
Right.
For me in Jamaica.
That's one of the great things. That's one of the great things that I love about Jason. Is because when Colton's ratio needs to be changed, he's right there to do it. When Colton got really sick and we ended up in the hospital, we needed something a little bit heavy duty. I mean, he was in a lot of pain. We thought that he had appendicitis, and he was in a lot of pain. So Jason was like, let's change it up a little bit. Give him some more THC, help with the pain, because in the beginning, the very first day that we got to the hospital, they gave him morphine.
Well,
and
they've done him a lot of good.
I thought he was going to crawl out of his skin. He just sat there and shook, and he held his face, and he was like, it hurts, and he cried so bad. And
bless him.
I was like, oh my gosh, what did you? And the nurse sat there and said, oh, it'll go away. Like, it shouldn't even be happening. Why is that okay? Why is it okay to have a reaction like that to a medication? That's
to
wrong.
A very heavy medication, to a class Schedule 1 medication. This is not aspirin here we're talking about. We're talking about not number aspirin. 1. Yeah, this is morphine. Number 1. This is heroin. This is morphine. This is opium. This is the number 1 drug that is Schedule 1. Yeah, and they walk away from it.
So
my God.
We gave we had to. This is a huge situation. Okay, so we take him to the hospital. They give him morphine. We call Jason. He wants to give him something different, but we get kicked out of the hospital. So because Colton doesn't have epilepsy, in the state of Colorado,
Right.
he cannot take or be seen by the hospital here in Colorado Springs
Yeah.
because he is a cannabis patient. So they, yeah,
Do that
that's
again.
medical discrimination. Okay, so
Whoa.
he cannot be seen here in Colorado Springs because he is not an epilepsy patient, because he takes cannabis and
Right.
he uses it for Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
The hospital will not allow him to be seen in the hospital here in Colorado Springs.
Oh.
Yeah. So
It gets more amazing by the minute. Go for it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna so that's medical discrimination. So they ended up they
Number
had to
one.
kick us out.
Yeah.
They shipped us in complete. I mean, by this time Colton was out of 10.
Hold on a minute. Sorry, wait a minute. You're in the hospital. They're just
Okay.
giving him morphine. Now they're telling you to leave the hospital.
Yes, that's exactly right.
They put a Schedule 1 drug into a 15-year-old boy. He starts having an allergic reaction, and they tell you to leave.
Yes, and not only that, but they gave him a CAT scan in the ER. They admitted him. They gave him some morphine. Then they were like, oh, by the way, you're a cannabis patient. We can't keep you here. So they bring in the ambulance.
Yeah.
We go 2 hours north to Denver.
Yeah.
In an ambulance. Colton is sweating and profusely. His face is getting pale, and he's starting to get sick to his stomach more. He was going to vomit. Just rolling back and forth in the fetal position.
I think they call it, if you're a toxicologist, I think you call that morphine overdose.
I'd say, I would probably say that. And so we get him to Colorado, to Denver Children's Hospital, and where he can take his medicine. And everything goes so much smoother. I mean, we are so grateful for Denver allowing cannabis patients to use cannabis in the hospital. It's a don't ask, don't tell policy, which is fine. You don't have to ask. But I'll tell you. I don't have a problem telling you. We had the pharmacy come up and ask us about cannabis. We gave them a 45-minute lesson on what we do for Colton. And the medicine that is tested, and we know how many milligrams of THC or CBD or CBN or whatever. We have the profile every single time when we get a new batch, we get a new profile.
Yeah, that's the same way we do it.
It is very, very regulated, and Jason is very good about keeping it very organic and true, and it's just beautiful medicine. It's just beautiful. And they were shocked. The hospital was shocked, and they were like, well, we thought that it was just, he was smoking weed. And I'm like, no. It's not. Even if he was, that's a totally different subject. I mean, because sometimes, if he gets nauseous, if he needs to vape or if he needs to smoke, then he has to. That's fine. We don't care. We understand this medicine. So we gave Denver Children's Hospital a great lesson in cannabis therapy, and they learned a lot, and they were very thankful. And we were thankful for them for allowing Colton to be there and taking care of him. We had excellent care. Shout out to Nurse Lauren, because Colton would probably want her to know that he loves her.
Well done, Nurse Lauren, whoever you are. Well done.
Say that again.
Well done, Nurse
well
Lauren.
done,
Whoever you are, wherever you are, well done.
She was fantastic, and the group of GI specialists that are there, even the students, were very cordial and understanding to Colton and to what we have already been through. I'm not one of those moms anymore that a doctor can come in, say this is what we're doing, and me say okay. No, I have like 15,000 questions, and you're going, and I'm not going to allow you to give him something that I don't feel is necessary. So anyway, it was like a huge medical discrimination issue, and Denver Hospital was great, but Jason comes in and says, well, maybe because he's in the hospital, maybe we need to change his ratio a little bit. And I was like, okay. So we did. and it worked. And now that the IBD people in Denver know about Colton and how well it's doing for him, they did a study, or they're doing a study, and Colton was the first one to sign up for it. I was so proud. And they right now they're waiting. He has, because of this last little abscess, he has a little bitty hole in his intestines, and it could be from a lot of different things. It could have never really healed. It could be scar tissue. It could be a lot of things. So they're watching it, but they're not giving him another biological, and they're not doing surgery. They're waiting for that hole to either get worse or be gone, because if it's gone, the cannabis did it.
Yeah.
And they're waiting for
I've
that.
got living proof of that, Wendy, if you ever need it, because I've got my the endoscope pictures, right, of what my stomach was like. It was all completely bleeding, the whole lot had gone. And when they put the endoscope down, it sort of a year and a half later, the endoscope person sort of kept fiddling about with the machine because they thought it had gone wrong because it had all healed up. And I know a couple of other people that have been using cannabis with GI tract problems. There's one young lady, she's almost growing her colon back. So yes, it can do that, but it's the ways that we do it, and again, exploring different methods and ways of using the plant. But it certainly has that capability, and I'm living proof of that. Yeah,
that's amazing.
So
and we are so happy that you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had and when we get off air, I'll have to give you the name and number of this little girl that I follow on Facebook. She did not have a pituitary gland.
Wow.
And then now she does. And she couldn't sit up. She couldn't speak. She couldn't do a lot of things. I mean, she seized the majority of the time that she was alive, and or that she was awake, even when she was sleeping, she was seizing. So just 24/7. But this child didn't have a pituitary gland, and now she does. And the only difference is that now she's taking cannabis. Isn't that a miracle? That is a miracle. Little girl is absolutely
your jaw drops. If we didn't have the proof of this, really, if we're talking like this 5 years ago, me and you would have ended up in a mental institution. Our families would have put us there. Seriously. But now you see what we're talking about. There's medical proof. This Dr. William Courtney, he's got something very similar to that, where he took a tumour out. And of course, it was a big hole left. But they found that the little girl's brain is regrowing.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Can you believe it? I mean, on my Facebook, every single day, I get to witness, these people healing themselves, and with some crazy stuff. I mean, it is, cancer, and cancer's horrible, and seizures, and MS, and there was a gentleman that I was following. He has MS. And he was wheelchair bound, and now he's walking, not with help, but he's on his feet. And I'm sorry, but westernized medications were not putting him on his feet. They were keeping him in that wheelchair. And praise everything that is spiritual. I don't care who you pray to them and thank them.
Yeah.
Because
I'll tell you
miracle.
What, me too. I don't want to get too biblical or too spiritual, but if this plant had long hair and walked around in a long white dress, you know what they'll be calling it, don't you?
Oh,
They'll be saying it's Jesus. Jesus has returned, because
Jesus has returned.
It feeds the poor, right, through hemp seed nutrition that grows everywhere. It clothes the poor. it heals the sick. All these things. You tick the box and you go, hold on a minute. That's walking, talking cannabis.
And here's the thing. Also, in the United States, it died away and it rose back.
That's it. Thank you for that. Thank you for that sermon, sister. Sister Wendy Turner. Praise the cannabis. Lordy. You can't. It's when you go through this and see what it does. Seeing is believing, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. It's absolutely crazy. And my kids, they make fun of me now because we are so we are so thankful for it and we now know that it heals almost everything. That my kids are like, Mom, my stomach hurts. Oh, let's go get some cannabis and rub some cannabis on my stomach, and they're like, oh, my leg fell off. Oh, we'll put some cannabis on it. It'll grow back. They're all making fun of me because, that's my go-to thing. It's not Tylenol anymore. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. And we have not told anybody this story. But, and this could get me into a lot of trouble, but I don't care. My son said I'd rather be illegally alive.
Exactly, that's my saying too. That we're both in the same
exactly.
boat.
I know, that was awesome. But anyway, my daughter had 4 teeth pulled out of her face.
Yeah.
4 permanent teeth.
Ooh, and ouch. All in one go?
All in one go.
Oh.
And when we took her to the dentist, and they said, okay, she's going to need some medicine. They gave us a prescription of Tylenol 3.
Yeah.
And I was nervous about it because I'm allergic to Tylenol 3. I can't take codeine, and it makes me very sick. And I got a really high fever and a rash all over, and I didn't want her to be uncomfortable. And I looked at my husband and I said, Tommy, we should just give her some of Colton's medicine.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? You're right. Yeah. So while she was still out, she had to go under anesthesia.
Yeah.
While she was still out of the anesthesia, just coming out of it a little bit, I took just a little, just maybe 0.5 mils of a tar and put it on the front of her teeth. Yeah. While she still had her gauze in, while she was still, it was all fresh. Yeah. And this was 9:00 in the morning. At 3:00 in the afternoon, she says, so Mom, are you going to take me to dance? She danced that night with 4 teeth missing. Yeah. She got 4 teeth pulled, permanent teeth pulled at 9:00 that morning. And at 3:00 in the afternoon, she was like, are we going to go to dance? She danced until 8:00 that night with no problems.
No problems. Because that's what it does. And if you took the paste, if you had rubbed the paste into her gums, they would have healed over almost instantly. I've seen it. I've seen a tooth taken.
They almost said the doctor. Yeah, the doctor was like, "Wow, we thought that her mouth wouldn't be healed up yet."
Yeah.
Because we had to go back the next day to make sure that everything was okay.
Of course.
And they were already starting to fill in. And they were like, oh, I mean, he walked in, he was like, wow, this is crazy. I know. And it said, you're doing great, and sent us out. Yeah. I mean, the kid danced 4 hours that night, and it was just ridiculous. You don't get that when you're on Tylenol. And she didn't take any Tylenol. She didn't take any kind of westernized medicines at all. I stuck that little bit of bit in her mouth. Bam, she was done. We're not supposed to. You're not supposed to give weed to your, 13-year-old child without a medical card.
You can give him heroin-based drugs. That's okay.
But give him give him Tylenol 3. That's okay. Yeah. So that's I'm like, So it goes to show you, just because Colton has Crohn's disease and he has a medical card and he is taking this religiously, and it's working, and he's great, and he's healing, and he's growing, and he's eating like tons of food, eating like a horse, that it doesn't, just because it works for him doesn't mean that it doesn't work for Riley, who had 4 teeth pulled out and had a very minute amount of cannabis. Very minute.
Almost homeopathic, by the way.
Yeah,
0.5 is parts per million. If you know what parts per million are, it's almost homeopathic.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, really, what can't this plant do? You name something that it doesn't
I don't know. And I've been studying it. I'll tell you the only 2 things that I really do know there that it won't replace is it won't replace metal and it won't replace glass. Right. But that's at the moment, It doesn't matter about the metal because we're an iron ore planet. So basically, we're never going to run out of that. And you can recycle iron as many times as you want. And glass is made out of sand, and you can recycle that as many times as you want. So those 2 commodities, it won't replace, but they're commodities that we're not going to ever run out of anyway. Besides that, it seems to replace everything. Yeah?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Anything you can make from a hydrocarbon, you can make from a carbohydrate. right? But when you make it from a
It's just nuts.
carbohydrate, new plant matter, one, it's environmentally friendly, two, it lasts longer, and well, it's just
Right.
better all around. And it's normally by a funny factor of 7 times better. I don't know why that figure ever keeps coming up, but if you look at the concrete, it's 7 times stronger. You look at the fabric, it's sort of 7 times stronger. You look at it's got the magic number of 7 around it. Yeah,
It's
and
the
that's not a
lucky number,
scientific
right?
fact. It's just like
Lucky number
it's number
7.
lucky number 7. So and
Went
then
to
when
the
you see
slots, it win.
these medical benefits, as you say, you've seen it in one child, you're giving it to another child, yeah, and I've certainly seen this with my own eyes, yeah. The things that it heals are just like, what doesn't it heal?
Right.
Tell
I
me,
would like,
right?
and that's what I would like to know. What
What doesn't it heal?
can't it do?
Yeah.
What in this, like you said, there's only 2 things that you can think of. I'm
Yeah.
looking around my room thinking, okay, what could hemp not replace in this room? And I can't think of
Right.
anything. I don't see anything.
Take out the glass, take out the metal, and everything else is most probably, it could be yeah,
Yeah.
hemp cellulose. And even the plastics, you see, you've got hemp cellulose plastics, so plastic can stay. Yeah. It's
Isn't that
incredible. You can do
crazy?
apps, and then when you think again, when you go to its nutritional benefits, and you start adding this into your food on a regular basis, hemp seed nutrition, hemp
Hmm.
seed oil, yeah, both wonderful, wonderful. That's another thing. I'll tell you, hemp seed milk can really help your boy, by the way, heal his stomach. But we'll talk about that off there if you like.
Oh, great.
When you look at the hemp food, cannabis food nutrition, you're getting a full package. All the amino 3, 6, and 9, all the amino acids, all the minerals, right, all the proteins, yeah, all the vitamins. Then you add the other part of the plant in, which is the leaves and the bud and the roots. You're getting all these CBDs. There's 480 elements or particles or whatever you want to call them so far they've found. 480. And we're just looking at maybe about 10 or 11 CBD, CBD1, right?
Right.
When you look, and it's got a mandamine in there, and it's got a fetazoa in it, yeah? And the
Hmm.
mandamine and fetazoa are the building blocks of life. Anywhere you find life, those 2 things were always present, yeah? So
Crazy.
when you put all that in your body, the only thing it can possibly do is regenerate. It
Make
can't
it
do
better.
anything else. Well,
Right.
it just fixes it. It makes it no. It fixes it. It makes it better. It regenerates the whole lot. Yeah.
And to think that this plant is illegal.
Well, no wonder it's illegal because it does everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of people scared that it's going to take their job, that's for sure. That's
Oh,
great. I mean, it's just amazing that,
yeah,
I've seen within the 20 months
yeah,
that we've really been involved in the cannabis
mm,
industry.
yeah,
I see every day miracle after miracle after miracle.
yeah,
And
yeah,
what's scary and what's so sad
yeah,
is that every day I also see sickness
yeah,
and hurt and
yeah,
desperation.
yeah,
Just today, so
mm,
far today, I have had 3 families contact me and
yeah.
say, "Could you please help us figure
Can
this
you
out? My
please
son has
help us?
Crohn's
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
I have Crohn's." And then there was a person that had
yeah,
cancer, and they're asking for help,
yeah,
and I'm like, gosh, the only thing that you can do legally is move
yeah,
to Colorado.
yeah.
And so, granted, Colorado is going to have more people in it than the whole United States because everybody's going to start living in Colorado. If all the
Everybody.
rest of these states don't start
Yeah,
legalizing this stuff and
yeah,
start letting people use it,
yeah.
because everybody's going to be in the state of Colorado, um,
Absolutely.
and that's going to, it's going to be horrible for economies, but regardless of the economy, it's horrible for the people. I see people every day in my own hometown that are sick and
Yeah,
can't access medicine like Colton
yeah,
has. We are very, very lucky,
yeah,
and very blessed to be able to be here in Colorado. Even though we are like doing it by the skin of our teeth,
yeah,
that doesn't matter. What matters is Colton's life, and we were fortunate enough to do that. There are other people out there that can't. They can't
yeah,
move. They can't pick up and, I so many people from the UK, so many people from I had a
Everywhere.
friend from Russia. Yeah, somebody from
Everywhere.
Russia got a hold of
I
me.
got a guy contact me from Dubai the other day, pleading.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Dubai,
pleading. But
everywhere
yet
around the world.
they can't access it either, and that's
No,
just not right.
no.
It's a global it's I don't it's a global crisis. That's
The
what it
global
is.
crisis. Wendy,
And
can
people
I bring
need it.
something else up while we're on the subject talking about? You've been quite involved with Shona at the moment, haven't you? You've been.
Oh, yeah. She's
Could you bring
actually
this up
coming
to?
over.
Is she really?
Yeah.
I'm going to get her on
Um,
the radio station at some point. She was a great inspiration to me when I was poorly. Yeah, she was just getting
oh
better, and
yeah,
I was
yeah.
thought, yeah. So
When
I got,
she
oh, she's an amazing lady. Could you bring us up to speed on that a
yeah,
little
when
bit?
she
Because
gets it,
yeah,
yeah. So she Shauna is a Crohn's patient who
yeah,
is living in the state of Kansas, and her little boy at school one day was having they were having a conference about the DARE officer came in and was talking about drugs,
yeah,
and they had mentioned marijuana. And
yeah,
the courageous, amazing little boy stands up and says, "No, you're wrong."
yeah,
So they, knock down Shauna's door, and they charge her with um, drug paraphernalia. They charge her with child endangerment and intent to distribute.
yeah,
Um, so this is a woman who has gone up to the police station and said, "Here, my name is Shauna Vanda. Here is my book. This is what I
mm,
do." Blah blah
mm,
blah. And for years hasn't done anything. Nobody's done anything to hurt her. Now
yeah,
she's educating her son on
yeah,
this, and she has that right. It's her son.
yeah,
Um, so we went to the preliminary hearing. I have a hard time saying that word. The preliminary hearing was just a couple weeks ago. I can't remember what the date was. So my friend Kelly Day and I, who also has Crohn's, went to Kansas City or Garden City, Kansas, to support Shauna, and they brought in a witness that was the guy that arrested her, and the officer that did all the paperwork and everything. And then they tried to bring in her son. And Shauna was like, "No, you are not bringing him in." And they had a subpoena to bring him in, but he is not in her care fully. He is in the care of her ex-husband.
yeah,
And the little boy stayed with her that day, but she took him to school
mm,
that morning. She did not
yeah,
know that there was a subpoena. I mean,
mm,
I was standing there when they said, "Where's your son?" And she was like, "He's at school." And
yeah,
they're like, "Well, he's supposed to be here. There's a subpoena out." And she went, "What?" I was standing right there. She had absolutely no idea that he was supposed to be in court that day.
yeah,
So she tells them, "No, we're not, don't bring him in. I will waive my rights to the hearing.
mm,
We do not need to put this little boy in through anymore."
yeah,
So they bring him in anyway, sit him in the courtroom
yeah,
so he can see his mom in
yeah,
court. Then they were like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry. She's waiving her rights. Go ahead and take him back to school." I'm like,
yeah.
"My Lord, do you people know what you're doing?" It's just absolutely ridiculous. So they take
Criminal.
him back to school.
Yeah,
She waives her rights to,
yeah,
which is, important. So now
yeah,
her attorney, Sarah, doesn't have all the information and couldn't um, cross-examine some of the
mm,
witnesses that the prosecution
mm,
is going to have
yeah,
because she waived her rights to not put her son on
yeah.
on this on
And of course, young Shona is the same. She's got Crohn's, isn't she? And she had great
yeah.
success healing herself with cannabis. She wrote a book about it. Yeah,
It's an amazing book. It's one of the reasons why
yeah,
we knew that Colton was going to be okay with cannabis.
yeah,
Shauna is one of the biggest reasons why when we started researching,
yeah,
we were like, "Wow, this girl has it,
yeah,
and she's doing great." She's
yeah.
not doing great anymore. Um,
No, apparently not, because she can't
because
use
she
her
can't
medicine.
have access to it.
Yeah,
Right. So she's
yeah,
getting very, very sick.
yeah,
So she is coming. to our house to stay for a little while. It's recreational here in Colorado, and she's going to medicate and try to get a little bit more healing, and she's going to stay with us, and we're going to take care of her. And we're going to fight. You know, we're standing with her. It is not right to do this to a sick person. Someone who is educating their child on what cannabis really is. This child knows just as much as what my children do, but because of our zip codes, Shauna is a criminal and I am not.
How can sick people be criminals?
It's unjust.
Of course, it goes back to our strap line, doesn't it? We're rather be illegally, you know, they're killing us. They don't realise if they take our medicine away, they are killing us. This gives us our life. And that's what, you know,
and we've always said, you know, she had, in the beginning, she did have one felony charge go from a felony 1 to a felony 2 charge. I'm not exactly sure which one that is. But the thing is it still has a 17-year prison.
Oh, no, I lost you again. What happened, Mum?
I don't know. She shows to be online.
I lost you again. Hello.
I'll hang up on her and call her back.
Okay.
All right, I'm calling her back now.
Okay. Just when it was getting good.
Are you there?
Yeah, we're back.
And you've got
just getting good. We have to say a big thank you to the NSA tonight for making sure that we're kept online.
Right, and it was and that was good timing because
we're giving out good information.
Because you're down to your last 4 or 5 minutes anyway. So I'll do a 3, 2, 1, and then
3, 2, 1, and we'll pick it back up again.
3, 2, 1. Go.
Yeah, the Shona Banda story is just absolutely amazing, isn't it? And another one, you know, how can they keep wanting people? If they don't let us have our medicine, we die. Right? That's Shona, me, and your son, and little Landon, and loads
that's going to happen.
Yeah, right.
And
I'll tell you, we might as well just lock us all up.
If she gets a prison sentence,
it's a killer.
It's a death sentence, not a prison sentence. It is a death sentence. Yes. And we are trying to make people understand that if she goes to prison, she's not going to have access. You know, if she doesn't go to prison, she can pick up and move and come to Colorado and live and be successful again. But she doesn't want to do that. She like I want to go back home. I want to see my mom. I want to see my dad. My son wants to see his friends. You know, we took all 3 of our children away from their family, and we have a grandchild in Illinois, and that we don't get to see grow up. We don't get to be part of his life.
Wendy,
our oldest son,
Wendy, sorry, we're getting so close to the end of the show. Can you please give out the information on Winning You Can Talk Forever? Honestly, I look forward to meeting you. Right, all your websites, all the websites you want people to contact you on. How do they find you? If you want to be found, that is.
You can find us on www.coltonscrew.org. You could always find us on Colton's Crew on the Facebook. You can find us on Millennium Grown Broadcast Network. Colton has his own little radio show, which is fun.
Oh yeah,
we need to get you two talking.
Oh well, yeah, I want to be. Guest.
You can find Shauna on her Facebook page. She also has a GoFundMe. I don't know how to get to it. Just Google Shauna Banda and you'll find the GoFundMe someplace. But she needs money. We need to pay for legal. It's going to be this case is going to set a precedent through the world, and her lawyer is going to have. She's going to need money to be able to fight this, because that's what's going to happen. It's going to be who has the most money. And if we don't get money for Shauna, then she's going to get a prison sentence. So if you can donate anything, it's
a death sentence.
If you can donate
money,
not
a prison sentence.
Yes, it's a death sentence. If you have Crohn's disease, and if you are a cannabis user, if you believe in the product, help Shauna. She needs it. This is my main focus right now. My son is healthy, and I'm so happy. He's great. But she is so important. If you're in Colorado, on Saturday, we're going to have Sarah Swain, who is her attorney, is going to be at Green Labs, and we're going to have a meet and greet with her. Colton's going to speak. We have a couple of other guest speakers. Dr. Michelle Ross is going to be there. Come out, support
Fantastic.
Shauna, support Sarah.
Big shout out going for Sarah Swain as well. I'll tell you, she's doing a really good job, that lady.
Yes, she is. She's on her way to my house right now.
Well, you give her a big hug from Steve in Spain.
I will. I will. Yeah. And next time because we're having such issues on this phone, and because everybody loves to cut us off, next time we should just do an interview face to face. I should just come down to Spain and see you.
You should. I send a luxury jet when it's ready, but at the moment we haven't got one.
Oh shucks.
Oh shucks. Bless. Well, listen, you girls have a great night. Peace and love, one love. Thank you for coming on the show at such short notice.
No problem.
Ever you want to come back, you're always welcome here. Listen, in the new year, I'm going to do a Can of Mums special. How about that? We get all the mums on. We do it in the new year, yeah? And we all get a voice. It sounds brilliant. Look, have a great weekend. Big hug to your son. Yeah.
Thank you. And you too.
Thank you, Casper.
Thanks, Casper.
You're welcome, and I hope you all have a great holiday as well.
Yeah, thanks.
Holiday. All right. We wish you a happy holiday. Have we gone?
Hold on. I'm going to play your music. And now we're gone.
Listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. The only broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio.